Dia sampai.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi guys, welcome to our presentation. We are from group 2 and this time we will present about one of something important in curriculum development and it called environment analysis or analysis environment. And before we go to our main presentation, let me introduce my group. There are 5 smart and amazing people here. There are Mustahani Uswatun Hasanah, Himas Novita Devi, it's myself, Lilian Evita Nurrohmah, Igawani Bijar Embun, Fitria Dwi Hutami, and Baskoro Bondan Tri Atmojo. In this chapter, we will explain about these 6. There are environment analysis, an example of environment analysis, environment constraints, understanding the constraints, constraints of time, and the last one is step in environment analysis. What is environment analysis? According to Tesmer, 1990, environment analysis involves looking at the factors that will have a strong effect on decisions about the goals of the course, what to include in the course, and how to teach and assess it. These factors can arise from the learners, the teachers, and the teaching and learning situation. And also, according to Richard's 2001, environment analysis is also called as situation analysis or constraints analysis. Okay, what is constraint? Constraint can be positive in curriculum design. For example, a constraint could be that the teachers are all very highly trained and are able and willing to make their own class activities. This would have a major effect on curriculum design as much of the format and presentation work could be left to the teachers. And about this topic, about this constraints topic, my friend will discuss it more in the next slide. And in some models of curriculum design, environment analysis is included in need analysis. For the example, if the level of training of the teachers is very low, and it is not taken into account, it might happen that the teachers are unable to handle the activities in the course. Similarly, if the course material is too expensive or requires technology and copying facilities that are not available, the course may be unusable. There are many factors that could affect curriculum design. So, as a part of a procedure of environment analysis, the curriculum designer should decide which factors are the most important. The importance of a factor depends on, first, whether the course will still be useful if the factor is not taken into account. And the second one is how large and pervasive the effect of the factor is on the course. And the next presentation will be presented by my beautiful friend Lilian.
Okay, the important constraint on the special second language maintained class were as follows. The first is there was very limited class time and contact time with English. because there are many of subject in school. And the second is there will be a drop in the learners interest in learning English as they identified more strongly with Japan and being Japanese. And the third is the learners knew that they could communicate more easily with each other Japanese than in English because the student from Japan. So I think uh, to communicate with English is more struggling. And the four is there was a range of levels of English proficiency, with some learners appearing to be very proficient for their age. And the last is the learners had been learning English in much the same way as a native speaker acquired the first language. Okay, this contrast could have the following effects on curriculum design. The first is parents should be quiet in giving their children some extra contact with English. I think the much to be help the student or the children, parents should be giving a vocabulary uh, in their house, in their home. So I think that much better to help their English. And the second is the activities should be fun so that the children look forward to doing them for their own sake. Because they should be fun. Uh, because they're and because I think the student not feels boring, so should be fun like games or experiment and something. And the third is some of the activities should carry over to the next class so that the children look forward to continuing them. And the fourth is the activity should be largely teacher centered rather than the group or pair work. I think the same with making a group. Uh, yeah. And the fifth is most of the activities should be meaning focused. Language focused activities should be mainly involved in correction. Okay, this would mean using activities like the following. The first is listening to serial story. I think listening to short story like um, and the second is reading comics or and other hikes interest materials like comics or novels or something like that. And the third is listening and speaking games. And the fourth is writing to be published or read loud. Writing to be published is like make a blog, make I think yeah, it's storytelling or a short story or experiences or yeah something like that. And the first and the next is learners giving talks to the group so and tell. I think the learners giving talk to the group like discussion. And the next is reading at home and reporting to the class. It seems like um, the student read some of book like novel and after then that the student tell about that based on hear it with their friends and the teacher. And the next is diary writing to the teacher of a secret friend. I think it's the diary daily. And the hack success quizzes activated with words. This is following about the quizzes and assessment to the activities. And the next is production of newsletter where everyone gets mentioned. That I think newsletter like information on the meeting or production of announcement, or yeah, it's like a meeting. And the next is pen pals. Pen pals. Pen pal is like a letter with writing a letter, and uh, letting the letter is like sahabat pena, or example I have friends, they she live in Jakarta, so I think I want to give a pen pals like a letter with post kantor post, like post office is the same like that. And the next is watching English movies and TV programs like these movies. So this is activities can be help the student to more know about the basic English with subtitle, or yeah, or like is listening and reading. And the next is playing video games that use English. And the last is production of a play. Production of a play like I think this is the student or the teacher give a production of play or games that use English. I think enough. So the next is presented by Bondan.
Okay, the next one is environment constraint. So table 2.1 lists a range of environment constraint. Environment constraint. When designing a course, the table can be used as a guide or as a check mark uh, to help sort out the few that will be given most attention in a particular piece of curriculum design. So in the columns number one and number two are lists of some constraints that may be happening or may be used by the teacher when designing a curriculum or a course. And the type, no, the column number three suggests some of the effects on curriculum design. So the column number one are general constraint, and general constraint, as the name is a constraint that is much more general. And the column number three are particular constraint. As its name, the particular constraint are the specific constraint that is derived from the general constraint. So the general constraint are the learners. For example, how old are they? What do they know? Do they need English for a special purpose? Do they prefer ways of learning? Now, the particular constraint of that are the learners interested in all kind of topics. Can the learners do all kind of learning activities? Do they share do they share a first language? Can their first language be used as a helping as a, to help learning? What previous previous learning have they done? The effect consists, for example, take account of learning interests, use appropriate activities when designing courses or designing curriculum, use set teacher-centered activities when designing. These are the example of the effect. These are the continuation of the table 2.1. Or the general constraint are the teacher, for example, are they trained? Are they confident in their use of English? Do they have time for preparation and marking? And the next one is situation. Is there suitable classroom? Is there enough time? Are there enough resource? Is it worth developing the course? So those are some of the example of uh, environment constraint. Now, sometimes it is necessary to consider a wider aspect of the situation when carrying out an environment analysis. For example, language curriculum in a situation where uh, the target language is recognized as one of the country official language. This can be happen when the environment are in the political national context. Next one are that there are relatively few native speaker. This constraint can be happen in the environment of the language setting. The next one are there are relatively few opportunities to use the language outside the classroom. This constraint can be happen in the environment of pattern of language used in society. And the last one are majority language speaker doubt the target language has contemporary relevance. So this constraint can be happen in the environment of group and individual attitudes. So to know about more constraint or to know about more what is constraint will be presented by my friend in the next presentation on the next slide.
Okay, the next is understanding the constraint. In order to understand this constraint, it is necessary to analyze the nature of these constraints, such as analyzing the class or place you work. If these constraints are deemed essential for the particular course being designed, they will be very useful to know exactly how big the class is. Is the content 40 students or 140 students? It is possible to change class size or not. There are many large class teaching studies and examination. This research has looked at the relative merits of the group work and teacher-centered activities, the effect of the class size on learning and individualization. The next is some of the constraints study and analyze. The first one is available time, the second one is cultural background, and the third one is the influence of the first language on language learning. Okay, from this picture, we can mean that to analyze the problem like in the chart, such as the language setting, pattern of language use in society, political and national context, group and individual. attitude, um, must consider the following question like who are the learner, who are the teacher, why is the program necessary, where will the program be implemented, and the last one is how will be implemented.
The constraint of time. In many courses, the time constraint is very important. The time may be severely limited, or the desired goals might not fit into the time available. The steps followed include first, examining the local environment. The local information from the environment, useful information to gather about the constraint is how much class time is available, how much time out class could be given to learning, and what the goals of the course are. Second, looking at the previous research, that research information like useful research information will reveal what could be achieved within certain time period. The example Pimsleur 100 1980, for example, person estimate of the time taken to reach various level of proficiency of learning of particular language. The estimates are based of the idea that some languages are more difficult than other for native speaker of English to begin to learn to reach an elementary level of proficiency. In French or Indonesian, for example, would take approximately 240 hours of study, according to Pimsleur. The third is considering the effect of the constraint on the design of the course. The effect of the constraint of design of the course. An environmental constraint can be approached in two ways: working within the constraint and overcoming the constraint. To work within the constraint, the curriculum designer could limit the goals of the course to fit the available time. This is what is suggested in the Pimsleur data. Another way of limiting would be to try to cover most of the language item and skills, but at a rather superficial level, relying on later experience to make up for the quick coverage. Double.
My name is Mustani Sutanasana, and this part is about steps in environment analysis. The step in environment analysis can be as follows. The first step is brainstorm and then systematically consider the range of environment factors that will affect the course. The next step is choose the most important factors, no more than five, and rank them, putting the most important first. The third step is decide what information you need to fully take account of the factor. And the fourth step is consider the effect of each factor on the design of the course. And the last step is go through steps 1, 2, 3, and 4 again. Environment analysis involves looking at the local and wider situation to make sure that the course will fit and will meet local requirements. There is considerable research data on many of the important environment factors, including class size, motivation, learners of mixed proficiency, and special purpose goals. Good environment analysis draws on both analysis of the environment and application of previous research and theory. In some models of curriculum design, environment analysis is included in need analysis. So, that is our presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. Goodbye. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.